Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful day. I'm so excited today. Welcome to Empowering You TV. My name is Coach Jeanine, if you don't know, and I'm so glad today to be with my special guest, Dr. Jena. And it's a pleasure and a blessing. She's a very, very busy woman, but she blessed us tonight to be here today. So, welcome, Dr. Jena. How are you tonight?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeanine, Coach Jeanine. I am glad to be here. And it's
Thank
Gina. I'm sorry.
you.
I did. Yes.
Gina.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so
Gina.
much, Dr. Gina. Yes, I'm so excited because tonight many of you guys already DM and say, oh, I hope you guys gonna definitely make sure that we ask all the questions. So yes, we here and we are excited. Thank you, Mary. She's always be here. Thank you so much, Coach Mary. You're amazing.
Oh,
So I'm
Mary.
very
Hello.
glad. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup de se joindre à nous ce soir encore. Moi, c'est Coach Janine. Je suis là avec Dr. Jena. So, elle est aujourd'hui là pour nous parler de son parcours. C'est une femme exceptionnelle. Elle est dans le leadership, elle est dans le business, dans le leadership. Donc, aujourd'hui, elle va parler avec nous et commencer à nous répondre à nos questions parce qu'il y a beaucoup de questions. Mais nous sommes là pour parler avec elle ce soir. Thank you, guys. Dr. Jena, how was, we're just going to go right into it, our traditional with our 5 words, and your first word tonight will be sacrificed. When you hear the word sacrifice, what comes to mind?
Oh, gosh. Purpose. Purpose comes to mind. And the reason purpose comes to mind is that oftentimes we find ourselves in situations where we feel like we have to sacrifice. And when we end up sacrificing, we want to know that it's worth it. We want to know that there's a payoff. But when you are following purpose, there is a huge sacrifice, right? And the sacrifice is when you are able to step into the fullness of who you are. Some things have to be sacrificed because they're no longer in alignment with who God has created you to be. And so sometimes you have to be willing to give those things up or move in a different direction. So it feels like a sacrifice, but it's actually alignment, moving greater in alignment with who you are.
Wow, I love that moving on that. I need, I'm glad this is a replay so I can listen again. I love that. Our second word is especially overflow.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, I don't know. Okay, you're on a roll tonight. So overflow. So let me tell you what comes to mind.
Mhm.
That is giving from a sense of overflow. When you are a giver, when you are moving in alignment with who you are, your goal is to give from a sense of overflow, which means that you have to take care of yourself to pour back into yourself. And then you can have much more flow to give to the people that you serve. Otherwise, you're taking away from the essence of who you are and you run empty, you run dry. And that's when it starts to feel like a sacrifice.
Wow, absolutely, absolutely. Another word for you would be growth.
Which one?
Growth,
Growth.
yes.
Ooh, growth. When I think about growth, I think about personal development. I think that each of us are here in this on this earth, in this creation to create and continuously grow who we are, grow into who we are becoming. And that when you stop growing, it's just like a plant. A plant eventually wilters, right? And so it's incumbent upon us to continue to grow our mind, grow our heart, grow our intelligence, all of those things that make us who we are. You're never too old to stop growing and
Uh,
becoming.
yes. Resiliency.
Ooh, resiliency. What comes to mind when I think about resiliency? I think about it in terms of the mindset, and that we have to, at all times, be resilient in our thought process so that we're able to make the pivots that we need to gain greater understanding of world events, understanding of individuals, understanding, especially as a leader,
Mhm.
that always what we think or what we believe can sometimes be challenged, and we have to be willing to challenge ourselves. And when circumstances happen in our lives that could be negative, that's the point at which that resiliency of the mind and of the heart becomes so critical to keep us from not being pulled off of the base and the foundation of who we are.
Wow. And our last word, which is two words, actually, it's not one. It's unstoppable leader.
Unstoppable,
Leader.
unstoppable leader. What comes to mind is each and every person has the ability to be unstoppable. You become unstoppable as a leader when you know who you are, when you are committed to the purpose, to your values, to your authentic self. You find your voice, you become unstoppable as a leader. And unstoppable leaders are the ones that begin to change things, become change makers.
Oh, wow. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Jena. That's amazing, Gina. I really, really appreciate this 5 words because that's what we learn every day. And for each guest, it's different. And I love that because we all learning from each other. So thank you so much for blessing us. That. Merci beaucoup encore de se connecter ce soir. Je suis avec euh, Dr. Gina. Elle est en train de nous parler de son parcours dans le leadership. Et je lui ai posé 5 questions. Je lui ai donné 5 questions et elle a pu nous donner sa définition de tous ces mots-là. So, merci beaucoup de se joindre à nous et continuer à inviter les autres pour qu'on continue à avoir cette conversation avec d'autres Gina. So, Dr. Gina, tell us so much about Dr. Gina. Guys, I want to give you a journey. Thank you, Mary, for putting all these great nuggets again. Yes, we are the planters, and absolutely, we are.
Yes.
Mindset is everything. So, thank you so much, Coach Mary. Dr. Gina, can you also tell us about who is Dr. Gina and how your journey started as a business leader and business expert in leadership?
Oh, thank you. So my journey started a long time ago, right? And so I when I got out of school, I was a business major, accounting major. And so I pursued accounting right out of school, but I didn't want to be just a regular accountant. I wanted to do internal audit, and internal audit was important to me because that's when you understand and learn about the company at a base level. And so that served me very well because as I moved up in the organization, I was able to move very quickly through
Mhm,
the organization because I was gaining so much understanding and knowledge. And then
mhm,
I could translate it in a way that could lead to a greater vision and various strategies. So I was a key strategist in my career in healthcare. So I worked for healthcare. I was in healthcare. I worked for one of the largest healthcare organization, and ended up running the largest nationwide healthcare plan. And so I did that. I was in corporate for 30 years after leaving corporate unexpectedly, but it was the right time because things happen for a reason. So
mhm,
I'm very grateful for that. And I decided not to pursue healthcare again, but when I think about what I do now as a coach, I wanted women to have the opportunity to know who they are and to create economic independence. Because one of
mhm,
the things that I had experienced and what I knew is that sometimes women stay stuck in situations, in relationships, all of those things, because they don't have the economic independence. And so I began a mission to help women, and I did it by focusing on their purpose. And because I think purpose is what can ignite it. And I know that when you are oriented and you are led for a cause that's
Mhm.
greater than you become even more unstoppable in what you do. So
That's
I've been
good.
on that mission to help other women
Mhm.
because of the circumstances that I experienced. I experienced divorce right after a week after divorce. I experienced a job loss, and so I was at a pivotal moment in my career, being mid 50s, right? And what was I going to do? And so that's when God showed me
Mhm.
what I was purposed for. And so I've been on a mission ever since then. And that's how I ended up, traveling to South Africa, becoming a speaker, author, all those things. But it
Mhm.
was because I discovered the purpose in my life. And I've been pursuing that purpose. And now I help other women to do the same thing, to
Wow.
become that unstoppable leader, to become resilient, to
Wow.
give from the overflow, all of those words that you talk, but without sacrificing
Yes.
who they are, who
Mhm.
they've been created to be. And so often in corporate experiences, we
Mhm.
end up having to sacrifice
Yes.
our authenticity, who we are as women. And I
Mhm.
think women make some of the best leaders
Uh,
because we're
I agree.
wired
I agree
differently.
to. I agree to that, Dr. Gina, because to me, I usually say leaders. I mean, for me, women are natural leaders, and you just say that
Yes.
because to me, I've been empowered. Like I was just sharing with you earlier. I've been empowered. My mother, she's a natural leader. My grandmother. So those women who are strong women who really been in my life, they've been, really pouring to me, and that's what you're doing. You started long time ago in corporate, but now God has opened many doors and global level now. And even we were just talking about even after this, it's gonna be even more global because we're talking about some stuff that we're gonna be doing. God just know the right time. And then I'm
Yeah.
glad that you say something about to me that when you were explaining, I just see that you you always serve, but you came to the point where you say yes to yourself too, to be able to
Yes.
expand, what, and you have found your purpose. So I really want you to talk more about that too.
Okay. Absolutely, absolutely. And about finding a, and I tell you, and I have to bear with me for a second.
Yes.
I have to tell the story because
Mhm.
purpose didn't just show up,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It was in those dark nights. It was in
Yes.
those lonely nights, having gone
Mhm.
through the divorce, having suffered the job loss, and then questioning my value despite all the things that I had achieved. None
Yes.
of that was enough to stop me and to
Mhm.
stop the mind from beginning to question who I
Yes.
was and what I could do. And so it was in that dark night, the crying and tears and all of that, that I began to see a vision that God had for me. And that vision was actually somewhere speaking somewhere. Well, 2 years later,
Yes.
I was invited to speak in South Africa. And
My
I'm
goodness.
standing on a stage in front of 2,500 entrepreneurs, global
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, as well as um, um, some very famous people, right? And so when I spoke, I began to talk. I departed from my speech. I began to talk about purpose, but I began to talk about purpose from a faith based perspective.
Yes.
The women in the crowd started crying. They were coming up to me afterwards, and I had several to tell me that they had visions, right? God had sent them a vision while I was speaking.
Mhm.
But I tell you that story because it was exactly 2 years from the date at which my job had just ended, that
Mhm.
I was now on a global stage
Yes.
speaking. And then I released a book
Mhm.
within months of that. And then I ended up going back less than a year later to conduct my own women's conference.
Mhm.
And so but it was in the darkness of that moment that God began to show me my purpose. I began to discover it. So I went on a personal retreat, and it was in the midst of that retreat that things became really crystal clear for me.
Yes. Yes.
And so I like to tell people often that purpose is in you from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But because of circumstances in our lives, because of situations, we get blinded and we don't know. But once I realized what I was doing, I realized I've been doing it all along. But
Yes.
now it had greater meaning for me. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what age you are, when you can discover it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I do in my coaching now is help women. We start,
Yeah,
regardless of what the coaching is, we
that's right.
start first with the inner empowering you. It starts here.
Yeah.
And it starts with discovering and connecting and aligning with that purpose. And then you're able to go and do whatever it is that God has created for you to do, whatever is in your heart to achieve. You can
Yes.
do it.
Ooh, my goodness. I can stay here the whole night. Me and Mary, we can stay here and just listening. And because this is what, the reason why we bring in, like, a speaker, such as yourself, to be able to give this good nuggets. And
Uh-huh.
because many people, many leaders, like you said, we find ourselves, you doubting yourself. You are
Yes,
fear.
absolutely.
You are, I
Hmm.
mean, you just really, it's really, especially with the pandemic, many people I've seen them like they're just questioning them, and I just say, just go for it. Doing scare anyway. I just said it, keep going, don't stop. So I'm
Don't
glad that
stop.
you're talking about this, because
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that when you are unstoppable, it doesn't mean that you won't have fears in you. It doesn't mean like that dark moment you talk about. I love that, because that's where many people I came across every single day, they just
Yes.
stuck right there. They're stuck. They just don't
Yes.
know where to go. And I said, just keep going. Just keep
And you
going.
have to
So
keep going. And studies have already shown
yeah,
that the one of the biggest things that holds a lot of women back, it's not that they don't have the skills,
yeah,
not that they don't have the dreams and the aspiration, it's their confidence. And
right.
because of circumstances in their lives, their confidence now has been challenged and they haven't been able to find their way back to rediscover that confidence. And
Absolutely.
so when
Hmm.
you get that confidence in you, you find that voice, and that voice, you begin to speak from that purpose, and
Yes.
it changes things. And it doesn't mean you're not going to have what I call step backs, not setbacks, but step
Yes.
backs. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that things are going to always be perfect. Perfect. You will have challenges,
Right.
but you will now have the confidence and the belief that you
Hmm.
can overcome it, because every problem has a solution. Every
Absolutely.
problem has a solution. It's
Hmm.
just you have to decide which solution you want to pursue first.
Right.
And if that's not the
Absolutely.
right one, go pursue a second one and a third one and a fourth. But there is a solution.
Right.
And it's about taking that step and making a decision to find that solution or to implement that solution.
Absolutely, Dr. Gina. And to me, I really want to just you to stay right there, especially when we're talking about the personal growth. And you actually talking about today, we're talking about growth. So I want us
Yes,
to really, if you can elaborate a little bit more, if you can talk to us about those moments where you had fear, those dark moments, how those
yes,
situations really stretch you, but not to the stretch you to the point where you don't see the direction where you're going, but stretch you so you can grow and really become the best version of yourself so you can pour into other people. If you can
yes,
talk more about that moment, about the
absolutely.
fear.
Because
Mhm.
that's a growth period. When you're in that darkness, that emotional, mental darkness, when we recognize that we're there and we are willing to rest in it until we while we learn and while we grow, because that's when you realize the strength that you have. That's when
Mhm.
you realize your resilience, because you don't give in to it to where you stop, but you do take time to learn the lessons that's in the darkness. And so I give you the example of a seed. A seed grows, is planted in the ground. It's
Right.
dark, it's nothing, but
Mhm.
it keeps getting watered. And what happens? Eventually it starts to bloom, because great things can happen in that darkness. And that's what happened to me. So when I began to see myself out of it, because you got to see yourself out of it. If you
That's right.
can never see yourself out of it, you can never grow through it. but see yourself out of it and take from it the lessons that are in it. And what I learned is that one of my biggest lessons during that time was I had given other people permission over my next venture. I had given away too much permission to other people. And now I had to take that back. I had to take my own power back. I had to give myself permission to do
Right.
what I wanted to do, what I needed to do, and not to always try to be there for somebody else. Right. So I did it on the job. And I had a great career. I don't want to undermine that. But there
Mhm.
were some challenges. And when the job ended, I found myself in a position to where somebody else was deciding my future.
Right.
That was another lesson. I never wanted to be in that position again where someone else got to decide what was next for me. And that's why I'm passionate about what I do, because I
Uh,
don't want other people
mhm.
to do that.
Yes.
Right?
And that's very key because many people stuck right there because they don't know, they don't have that courage to be able to speak and say,
Right.
I think I'm gonna decide for me now. I'm gonna
Yes.
be the driver. You're gonna let God really drive, and you just gonna listen the direction about where He's leading you to. But I'm glad we were talking about this, specifically in the area of consulting, leadership, and all of that things that
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about. I want you to tell us about how did you react, or how not react, but how did you experience when because not every day people receive or they say yes to our proposal. So I want us to talk about when they say no. Like you were thinking that this is a great idea, this is a great proposal, but how did you really receive that no? And it's not so much about you, but maybe it was just not the right time, maybe it was just not the right people, but we did it anyway. So because many leaders, that's what they deal with. They think that it's so much something with them, they did not prepare. It's not really that. But I want you, if you can speak a little bit to the no, when you heard no, and not just one time. I'm sure there's so many that those are the
Oh,
lessons that we're
absolutely.
learning. So if you can speak
Yes.
into that, so you can encourage somebody and be able, to speak to those leaders right now.
Right. So whenever you're in business for yourself, or you are even on, if you're working for someone else, things are never going to go 100% the way you expect it. So you're likely to get just as many no's as you
Hmm.
are yeses. And
Yes.
when that no comes, that's not an opportunity to sit back and do nothing. That's an opportunity, I call it, to re-aim,
Yes.
reload,
Hmm.
and go again, because sometimes it's not the right time.
Yes.
Sometimes it is just not the right person, it's not the right customer.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that your product is bad, doesn't mean that
Hmm.
you did a bad job. It
Right.
just means that just not now. But if that's not the right customer, then you just find the next customer
Hmm.
and you keep going. But I will tell you, as an entrepreneur, that
Yes.
was a lesson that I had to learn, because
Hmm.
I because we have a tendency to take it personally as a rejection. But it's just a turnaround. It's just
Right.
an opportunity to do things differently. And I'm reminded of, again, situations where I've presented stuff before
Hmm.
and the answer was no. But 2 years later, a year
Hmm.
later, it was like the best thing since sliced bread,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
And it
Yes.
was like, okay, so why didn't you say yes? It was
I know.
timing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yes.
it's just timing. And so
Yes.
I learned that all the time when I go
Hmm.
out and I'm
Hmm.
selling and meeting new customers and new
Yes.
clients.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're just not ready.
No.
And so, you just you just keep nurturing it, and then they'll come back.
That's
Or
right.
you're not the right one for them.
That one too. Yes, I
Yes.
agree.
Yes, sometimes,
I
and
agree.
sometimes they're not the right one for you either,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
so when you can have a healthy mindset about it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can take it as just a single data point. And so, and just to give some, let's just get some statistics.
Right.
In most cases, when you're doing sales of any
Mm-hmm.
type,
Mm-hmm.
the conversion rate normally is 5 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So just think how many people you have to touch just to get one. And then
Right.
as you get more experience and as you identify your target audience and you're speaking the language and you're getting to them, you raise that conversion rate. But initially, when you're starting out, to
Mm-hmm.
get one client, you may have to talk to 50 people,
Right.
right?
That's
So
true.
that's
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
no's. But that one
Mm-hmm.
no, that one yes is going to make up for all the 50, the 49 that didn't.
Yes, that's true. That is true. That, and I love what Coach Mary was saying on the chat. He said new opportunity. Sometimes it's
Yes,
no, it brings one opportunity. And to me, sometimes when I hear people, oh no, not right, that I hear excuses, I'm like, okay, thank you, next. I just continue
next.
my journey.
That's exactly it. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
thank you. Let's not waste any more time. Is
no,
this a yes or no?
yeah,
Okay, let me
yeah.
hurry up and get to the yes.
So to me is well, it took me time in the beginning. I was like, oh, I was really say, well, maybe because I didn't say this way, and then
Yes.
after that I said, Jeanine, no, you did your best. You came, you show up because that's what we do every day, leaders. We show up every day for our people, our community, our clients. So I'm glad. Oh my goodness, time just runs so fast. So our last question for you, Dr. Gina, before you talk to us about your business and how people can be able to reach
Uh-huh.
you.
I'm just trying to
What?
read the comments, make sure I'm not missing any questions. So yes, I
Yeah.
love that. I'm gonna have to keep that one, that new
Ah, yeah.
opportunity for
Mhm.
no.
Of
Yes,
course,
I
please.
like that.
Coach Mary, she's amazing. She's always
Thank you,
definitely
Mary.
pouring to us. Yeah. Our last question to you, Dr. Gina, is what leadership cost you?
What does leadership cost?
Like how it cost you, like what exactly cost you in your personal life and professional life.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? That's a difficult question, but I'm gonna answer it. And so I think the cost. Let me say this. I think the cost.
Yeah.
Um, cost can be viewed as positive or negative, right? Or it can
Hmm.
be sometimes it's a greater cost. And I think early on, the cost for me, which is when we talk about my business, I'll tell you why I do
Right.
that part of the business, is because when we start out as women, and I want to speak specifically to women,
Hmm.
it's when we start out in our career, our corporate career, we have been led to believe that we had to balance, that everything was equal. My work life and my personal life are equal. And if I could just keep them in balance, I can make this work. Well, that's a myth.
Hmm.
There's no such thing as balance, but it's integration. And
Right.
so early on, we start out trying to balance and we start sacrificing, and there are costs associated with that. You
Hmm.
either give up on your health, you give up on your family, you give up on your children. All of those are sacrifices that you end up making only to come later and realize
Mm.
it wasn't worth it. Not that you didn't have a good career, but the
Right.
cost to your family, to your children, is a greater cost. And so, learning how to do that early on, I wish somebody had told me. I wish I had learned that early on,
Hmm.
but I didn't, right? Because I was trying to be like everybody else until one day I realized I had to do it for me. So,
Hmm.
I then began to make decisions that allowed me to spend more time or work differently. Now, I still overworked. That's a whole different question. But I still, overworked because I
Right.
was very ambitious. But at the same time, I began to make different decisions
Mm.
to not put my family at jeopardy or expense. And So I think that was probably the biggest cost. And I think the second biggest cost had to do with my health, because for years I didn't exercise, I didn't take care of myself. But I was fortunate that I didn't develop any sicknesses. So
Mm.
now I stand here, I'll be 61 in 2 weeks.
You don't
And
look like you're young
well, you know
woman.
what? I am proud and I am
Yes.
blessed, but my health is good, all of those things.
Amen.
And so it's all worked out, but I did have some warning signs early on, and it caused me to take note and to begin to lose weight, exercise, all those things, and it paid off. And so
Wow.
I I'm grateful to that. But so I would just say to women that are out there, be careful. You do not have to sacrifice your personal life for your career. It's
Mm-hmm.
about finding a way, discovering a way to have them more integrated, to create harmony, to exercise autonomy, and to make decisions that are in alignment with what you really want. And most women want a family, they want all of that, but they still want their career. And there are ways in which it can be done. And that's why, you're a coach, I'm a coach. That's why we coach women on that,
That's
right?
right.
To
Yes,
help
that's
them
true.
chart that course in a way that works for them.
That's wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Gina. It's only the first time, not the last time, for sure. I had so much fun and wonderful good nuggets. So please, Coach Gina, if you can tell us again, where people can find you. Please give us the name of your book. You can remind us because I already read that,
Yes.
but if you can, so people can go and purchase, and if you
Yes.
can please subscribe to Dr. Gina website, social media, because she's gonna come back again for more, many episodes. But
Oh,
please,
thank you so much.
just tell us,
So the
Dr.
name
Gina.
of my book is
Mhm.
I don't know if it'll come out. Oh, yes, it does. It
Yes,
comes out
we can.
really.
Yeah.
So it's
Uh-huh.
called Mirror Affirmations. And I
Mm-hmm.
wrote the book at the time of it was healing for me. But the
Mm-hmm.
book is really to help you find yourself and to overcome the pain and trauma that you experience in your life, but that empowers you to
Mm.
rewrite the story, rewrite the headlines, to
Yes.
give for forgiveness, to rewrite it,
Mm.
to get unstuck, to deal with whether you're dealing with grief, job loss, divorce, any of those things, relationship, they're all covered in here because they're all my situation. Right? But I give you and it's faith based, so it has Bible verses in it, but it also has exercises in it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it has the affirmations, and then so I'm gonna write part two of this because one thing that I did not cover to this extent that I it's learning, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
growth. Is that it's mirror affirmations are you have to say them, but you have to believe them. And what I have found in my experience is that oftentimes people don't believe what
Mm.
they're affirming,
That's true. Wow, that's true.
and so they
That's
don't,
true.
it's like they don't come true, and they're like, I keep waiting for God. I was like, God's waiting for you, start believing, right?
What's that?
So anyway, so that's my book. So you can get the book, you can just go to www.mirroraffirmations.com. If you just go to
Mm-hmm.
my social media pages, there it's right there, you can just click the link. But my new business is called Onward Way. And Onward Way is a group coaching. So we work with organizations to cultivate equity through coaching, because so often when you're in corporate environments, coaching is reserved for some of the top executives, and
Mm-hmm.
usually you don't even know about it. It's secretive, right? And so what we're saying, no, we need to build a better pipeline, a stronger pipeline of women leaders starting at the mid management level. And
Yes.
so the coaching program deals with is targeted towards mid management, and then we have one for senior executives for those
Mm-hmm.
that really want to be change leaders. So
Right.
in the Onward Way, it's helping people, helping individuals to develop and discover those leadership competencies and the power skills that they need to really rock their become that leader in the organization that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
that changes for a culture where people can thrive, because we believe that when women thrive, when women win, everybody around them wins,
That's right. Mm-hmm.
because we don't usurp power, we empower other people. So
Yes.
we empower our teams, all those things. And those that don't, simply it's because they're trying to do it in a way that's the old way, or the more masculine way, or the way that men have already done it. But what I tell women is that men did not have to deal with their families, their personal lives. That's what their
Mm-hmm.
wives at home did. So they found it to be easy, but we don't. We
Yes.
deal with all of it. And so we have to find a way to do that that works. And
Wow. I need to
so,
purchase that book very quickly. Absolutely. Yeah. And to
yeah.
really hear that. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Gina. Any last words so I can be able to say what you just said in French to be
Oh
able
my
to close
goodness.
out?
Oh. Well, you know what? I just want to wish every woman out there many, many blessings. And I want to let you know that you did not have to be stuck. You are, um, there's a leader inside of you. And
Mhm.
when you ignite the purpose in you, you can become unstoppable. And don't hesitate to get help. We coach individuals because we understand that you can't do it alone.
Mhm.
And when you choose not to do it alone, you actually can go faster. But
Yes.
learn what you can from other people, and never be afraid to ask for help. And that's one of the first things we talk about. And that is being willing to say, I need help.
Mhm.
And when you can do that, so I would love the opportunity to meet you. Stay in touch. Let's stay in
Yes.
touch.
Mhm.
And I do have one gift. So if they go out to my website,
Mhm.
www.theonwardway.com, in
Mhm.
the middle of the page is called the GPS, and it's how you become grounded
Mhm.
and positioned so that you can soar. And it's just a short little survey that you can take that's free. And
Mhm.
when you take that, you then have the opportunity to purchase a coaching session. But if not, you'll get the results. But the coaching session allows you to create a game plan on how you can discover and move forward with your own GPS, grounded and positioned to soar.
Oh wow, I love that. Guys, go and get that
Yes.
because we all gonna go and
Yes.
sign up and so we can all purchase
Yes,
because
just
guys,
go take it, and
yeah.
maybe we can put it in the chat. I don't see how I can put it in the chat right now, but if
Oh,
me-
okay. Oh, you know,
but
I'm gonna attach that, especially when I'm sending the
okay.
replay, so people
Okay,
can be
that's
able.
great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you so
absolutely.
much, Dr. Gina.
You're
Guys, we
welcome.
were so blessed. This is amazing. Merci beaucoup encore d'être là ce soir. On était avec Dr. Gina ce soir. Elle nous a parlé de son parcours en tant que leader. Et si vous pouvez suivre Dr. Gina dans tous ce social media, comme ça, elle pourra continuer à parler avec vous et aussi se connecter avec elle. Pourquoi pas? Peut-être que vous avez d'autres questions qu'on n'a pas pu finir ce soir. Donc, essayez de parler avec elle parce que elle est vraiment en train d'enseigner les femmes comment se mettre debout et puis surtout comment s'équiper en tant que leader parce que c'est très important de prendre toutes ces stratégies et de pratiquer cela parce que vous avez un long chemin dans ce leadership et nous sommes là pour vous donner des solutions, des pistes de solutions. Merci beaucoup. Thank you guys. You were wonderful and I will see you everybody from Empowering You TV. See you Sunday. We have another wonderful guest this Sunday evening, all the way from South Africa. So don't miss to it will be Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central time. So don't miss. There's a great lady, a young lady. She's coming on Sunday from South Africa. So thank you again, Dr. Gina, and
You,
thank you, Mary, and everybody else.
thank you. Thank you for having me, Coach Jeanine. I appreciate it. And Mary, thank you for all of your comments. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.